folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Got some more news updates to cover. Everything from communications, blackouts, and power outages, and lack of government services, and countries that are collapsing already because of all of the global economy problems, the shortages in food, and the inflation prices in food and energy, and the shortages of energy. It's all coming to a head for a lot of people, and it's worsening every day for, well, pretty much everyone else. And so we want to cover that. I want to talk just for a brief moment about a meeting that I went to last night. And it was really exciting because this may be for selfish reasons, but you know, we host our own prepper meetings here locally, and whether I speak or not, I'm always the one in charge, I guess. I mean, it just falls to me. And so it's kind of nice to go to another prepper meeting that you don't really have to do anything. For those of you in any type of leadership, pastors or speakers, anything like that, you know what I mean. It's nice to kind of go to someplace else so that you can just sit and listen and learn. So that's what happened last night. And this was in Salem, Missouri. So if there are any of you, and that's a small town, and I understand that's probably a very tiny percentage of those of you that are watching this, but if you're in that area, you should listen, because this is something that we're starting to see grow just in the last few weeks. The amount of people just here in Missouri that have contacted me that they are either currently doing meetings or starting meetings up, or they're trying to, and they're needing advice. Has grown a lot, and then I'm getting emails from people all over the country, and so we're seeing a growth of that, which is a good thing. These are meetings that most everyone that I've talked to about this, they're not just doing this so that they can spread information. They're doing this so that they can build community, so that they can, have a place where people can come of like mind and meet each other and go on to grow that into more of some type of a group. And anyways, that's what's going on in Salem, Missouri. And it was really neat because it was a pastor of a church, and the entire church was involved. The church opened their doors up to the public, and so they're having these on a weekly basis for the next 6 weeks. It's actually a seminar. And the pastor there, who is extremely knowledgeable in prepping, I've met him and talked to him several times. He actually spoke at our expo that we had a month or so ago, a couple months. And so that's what they're having. They're doing it every Thursday evening for the next 6 weeks, a little seminar, and then they have, little finger foods afterwards. And they're opening it to the public, and they're trying to really focus on people that live directly in that area, hoping to bring them in and so that they can start building a kind of prepper type community network in that area. And it was a really good seminar. The gentleman that spoke, the pastor there, he's extremely knowledgeable and put on a really good seminar there. So we're excited. It's about an hour from us, but we're going to try to make every week as best as we can to go to that. So anyways, I wanted to share that, and hopefully that's a little bit more encouragement for folks like yourself to step up into kind of a leadership role. The first step I always tell people is just to find a place to do this. It could be a city park pavilion. It could be a local volunteer fire station. A lot of times they'll let you use a room, libraries, churches, community centers. There's all kinds of options out there to find a place that you can host a meeting. And then once that's done, the rest is kind of downhill. We'll get the word out and try to get as many people to come, and then you can start the beginning stages of that. If you're looking for just where some of these are being held, there's a couple of resources. One is tphnetwork.com, which is a website that I built and run, and it's kind of like Facebook. But you can go on there, and there's an events tab, and people are posting their events. I just looked this morning, There's meetings in Oklahoma, Nebraska, and other states. There's even people that are posting meetings over in the UK and Wales and places like that. So it's really exciting to see that. Another one that's become pretty popular for this is Viking Preparedness Patreon page. And a lot of you are familiar with Viking Preparedness. That's Pastor Joe Fox hosts that YouTube channel, but he has a Patreon page. And on there, every month, people post all the different meetings that they're aware of, and it's usually a pretty good lengthy list of meetings. So that's some stuff that you need to know about. It's extremely important. So check that out as much as you can. Now let's get on with the news, because I know some of you get so irritated at these intros, and they're not really intros. They're just informing you on news, stuff that's going on. It's important, folks. It may not pertain to you in this video, but it might eventually in some other video. We're dealing with just starting to see the falling apart because of everything that's happening. And up in Canada today, they are dealing with, over in eastern Canada, major communications blackouts. Internet's not working, cell phones aren't working, and this is pretty widespread in some areas. And it's to the point that, and it's extreme enough that people aren't even able to use 911. I mean, they can't even, a lot of places, 911's just not working. It's not getting through. And this is something that I have talked about, maybe not specifically, but when I talk about how we as Americans, and I know that's Canada, but it's close enough, are so used to the conveniences that we have. We're so used to just being able to pick up a phone and within a few minutes have, emergency services arrive. We're so used to being able to, Google anything and search for stuff and go to a restaurant and paying with your phone and all this kind of stuff. Debit cards were down, ATMs were down, people couldn't take money out if they didn't have cash on hand. In some places, because of their registers are all connected to the internet, those weren't working either. So it's causing quite a bit of havoc there. I won't even go into the reasons why, because we don't exactly know yet. The official, I think, reason is because of an error in some type of update of system, but it's also possible that it could be some type of hacking event, which is, cyber warfare is getting to be a pretty big business right now, especially with what's going on with Russia and Ukraine and China and stuff like that. I expect this kind of stuff to continue. I think we're going to see more of it. We're seeing more here in the United States of talk and action of these rolling blackouts, where a lot of places are without electricity for several hours a day. It's not happened here where we're at. We're on a pretty stable utility system, and of course not a lot of customers because we're very rural. But I've been hearing a lot of these utility companies that switched over to where they're getting most of their energy from renewable sources, solar and wind power, and it's just not able to keep up. And so that's part of the problem. The other part is that we have, as a nation, not been keeping up our grid. We're shutting down coal plants. We're shutting down nuclear power plants. We're not building anything new, and we're apparently think that we're just going to be able to put out enough solar and wind power to take up, fill in the gap, and that's just not going to happen. And so some of you already have experienced that, but most of us will eventually get to that point where we'll be experiencing that on a regular basis, and it eventually could become more permanent. And so we could see those kinds of problems happening. What this does is it could lead us to the point, especially when you connect all the other stuff. You connect the high food prices, the high gas prices, the more and more limited availability of things, fuel, gas, parts, all this kind of stuff, and then just the people that are fed up with all of it. You could lead us to more of an actual collapse scenario, what was seen in Venezuela and what is being seen right now in Sri Lanka. And I've talked about Sri Lanka a few times. The Prime Minister of Sri Lanka has announced that the country is completely collapsed. Their economy is completely collapsed. Their dollar is pretty much valueless. They have defaulted on debt payments. They have 1 day's worth of fuel in the country. and they're not expected to receive another shipment in for maybe another couple of weeks. It is absolutely chaos in the country. And this has happened in just a few months. Basically, the spike in inflation and all this since the first of the year, and then the whole Russia-Ukraine thing has really got this going. I'm not saying that Sri Lanka has always been a stable country, because it most certainly hasn't been. But in the last decade or so, they have made pretty much some big leaps and bounds into becoming a pretty stable country in that region, even to the point that it's become a pretty big vacation area for Westerners. And they're starting to make a lot of revenue off of that. And of course, they're collapsing in just a few months' time. And even though America is much more stable and a much bigger and able to handle more of a attack when it comes to economic problems and stuff, our path could be just like Sri Lanka's. It may take us longer, but it could be like that. And we're seeing the repercussions of that, of poor decisions that's been made, and of certain people that are trying to run us into the ground. Here locally, something happened yesterday. Actually, I got this while I was at that meeting last night. Someone sent it to me. And it's been picked up a little bit by some other YouTubers and stuff, and I felt like I should comment on it because it's literally in my backyard. Ozark County, Missouri. Yes, the Ozarks is a region, but there's a county called Ozark County, and then there's a city called Ozark, which is not in that county. This county is south of where I'm at now, and where I used to live. I used to live pretty much right on the county line between that county and the county north, which was Douglas County. The county sheriff there has issued an emergency declaration in the county because basically they have no funds to function as a normal sheriff's department. They're no longer going to be enforcing traffic, making any kind of traffic stops. Their patrolling is going to be greatly restricted because they've run out of money to fuel their vehicles. They will only be handling misdemeanor and felony violent type crimes. If you have a smaller crime problem, you just call in and they'll take the report over the phone. But they won't be sending deputies out, and they won't be doing the patrolling that they normally would do. Now, this is a small county in population. I think it's something like 11 people per square mile, about 8,500 people in the county total. So it's not a big population, which also means they don't have a very big budget. I suspect this has happened other places. Probably for whatever reason, this one has kind of become more newsworthy. And if in fact this is the first county to do this, it certainly isn't going to be the last. We're going to see more and more of this, and there'll most likely be other services that we start seeing that get cut back. Trash services, mail services, all of that could start being cut back, as well as your truck drivers. And they're facing the big brunt of this. The private owner operator truckers, they're becoming less and less of them. They can't afford to stay in business between the high diesel fuel costs, the high DEF costs, and shortages of parts, trying to keep the trucks running. It's like they're being attacked at every area. And we're seeing less and less of these owner operators, which make up a big bulk of the trucking fleet that's, delivers the stuff that you use on a regular basis. We are going to most likely see more and more of this. I don't think it's going to get any better. Crude oil prices took a dip first of the week, and people were starting to get excited, and it's gone back up again. It's back up around $105 a barrel, and I could be wrong, but I don't think that we're going to see cheap gasoline for quite a while. I know one big bank, I think it was Citibank, said that they predicted that crude oil prices will collapse, and yet another big bank, maybe it was JP Morgan or something, predicted that they'll go up to $200 or $300 a barrel by the end of the year. So who really knows? The fact is, folks, is we are starting to see the beginning stages of the collapse, the beginning stages of the effects of all the stuff that's going on, that's been going on for a while. And I even said this a few months ago, things are going to seem kind of normal. It'll be inconvenient, be a little uncomfortable. and then we'll be starting to get to that worrisome. And I think we're somewhere between uncomfortable and the worry part, where people are really starting to worry. And within a few months, it could start becoming more critical, where people are having to make some real life choices just to kind of stay in a somewhat normal lifestyle, because everything is in short supply or everything is expensive. And this is a huge reason why we're preparing. This is why folks like myself and most of you are doing everything we can to get prepared. Why I went to that meeting last night, just kind of supporting that group, because I see what they're doing. It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. And there are many others like that, because thankfully there's enough people out there that's realized that what is happening is sending us down a very dangerous road, and we've got to do everything we can now to get ourselves prepared, just like purchasing an insurance policy on your car or your house. It's the same thing. So folks, continue to get yourselves prepared, because the things that I mentioned today and I've been mentioning, it's most likely we're going to continue to see more of it, and it's going to get worse. So get your houses in order, prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.